Part 3, the implementation, quote, particularly like the implied need section in crafting open-ended questions. Suggest combining this book with Miller Heineman's strategic selling and conceptual selling. This will allow one to effectively craft out strategy, tactics, and pre-meeting communications thoroughly. I use it for multi-million-dollar technology deals, and it has been very effective. The 3 allow you to develop real value selling. I have been using these around the world. By a dedicated reader of book, S.P.I.N. Selling. Now that you have read the part 2 of S.P.I.N. Selling, we shall jump across the third part of the useful S.P.I.N. selling techniques. Before we talk about, we must clarify what is really an implementation. In fact, an implementation intention is a self-regulatory strategy in the form of an if-then plan that can lead to better goal attainment, as well as help in habit and behaviors modification. It is subordinate to goal intentions as it specifies the when, where and how portions of goal-directed behaviors. Having done a quick review of the importance of implementation, we are now prepared to dive into how it serves to use for the S.P.I.N. technique. Alright. A small warning would be appropriate regarding implementations. In truth, when implementing the S.P.I.N. technique to successful in doing S.P.I.N. selling technique, it requires a commitment to diligently practice the skills. This chapter is not only about what skills to practice, but also how to practice. For starter, let's examine the essential 4 practice rules. As you can see, everyone has the ability to learn new skills by following 4 principles. The S.P.I.N. selling technique can be achieved by following them and practicing them. First thing first. Here it goes. Rule 1. Practice one new behavior at a time. Make no mistake, people who are seeking to improve their skills often try to change too much at one time. For instance, after reading this book, you might resolve to eliminate closing techniques, ask more problem questions, ask implication questions instead of jumping into offering solutions, avoid presenting too many features, and so on. But to learn difficult new skills, you need to practice one new behavior at a time, not a half dozen. So, choose one new behavior from the book, and keep practicing it until you're comfortable with it. Next, let's look closely the Rule 2. Okay, Rule 2. You have to break in a new behaviors. In all honesty, expect new behaviors to be awkward when you first try to implement them. For instance, if you're trying to learn to ask implication questions, they're going to sound contrived when you first start asking them. You might even be tempted to give up and try another new skill. But you have to break in a new behavior like a pair of shoes, wear it or practice it multiple times until it's comfortable. Practice a new behavior at least 3 times before moving on to something else. The next is below. Rule 3. Quantity before quality. In not too many words, foreign language used to be taught in a way that put quality first. Students were taught multiple things at once: words, pronunciation, tense, word order, and had to get everything right, for instance in reciting a sentence for the teacher. The focus was on crafting a perfect sentence. Today, language training focuses on quantity as opposed to quality. Instead of worrying about getting every detail right, students are urged to use many words and speak the language as much as possible. This has proven to be a faster, more effective way of becoming fluent. Similarly, researchers found that the quickest way to learn a new selling skill is by focusing on quantity. Don't worry about asking perfectly framed problem or implication questions, just ask these types of questions a lot, and you'll soon get the hang of it. Practice as much as you can, and you'll implement new ideas more quickly while your quality improves over time. Next up, Rule 4. Practice in safe situations. Don't start practicing new skills in high-stakes situations, for instance, with major account clients. They're going to be awkward at first, and the customer may react negatively. Instead, practice new behaviors in low-risk or safe situations, for instance, with customers you know well, or on calls where you have little to lose if you fall flat. Furthermore, we have to examine the sequence for learning a new skill. Hence, the best sequence for learning a new sales skill is, pick one new sales skill to work on. Choose a low-risk call in which to practice it. Focus on using the skill a lot versus performing it perfectly. Try the skill at least 3 times before moving on. Summary. In a nutshell, the whole part 3 can be distilled in a few sentences. Agree or not? As a small reminder, we must look the practices rules which to practice one new behavior at a time. Rule 2 is look quantity before quality. Additionally, the other Rule 3 is you have to break in a new behaviors. The last rule is to practice in safe situations. Another area to summarize is the sequence for learning a new sales skill. Basically, it consists of pick one new sales skill to work on. Choose a low-risk call in which to practice it. Focus on using the skill a lot versus performing it perfectly. Lastly, to try the skill at least 3 times before moving on. That said, let's go to the conclusion. Conclusion: believe me, I have met lots of people who are defensive about the particular system which I have never understood. Maybe people in general don't want to imagine that their technique could be improved. They usually tell me that they have learned so and so's system and tweaked it and it works. If what you are doing is making you wildly successful, then great. But if not, then why not read about how the wildly successful sales pros do it? Nothing to lose and much to gain. P.S. As a bonus for you in reading up to the end, here a free gift bonus from YouTube. Please click to the link here. Web links. End of part 3.